In Lagos, you can survive traffic, bad power, and even fuel scarcity. But surviving office politics? That one needs special grace. Lara learned this the hard way the morning her 3.5 million Nigerian Nairas check mysteriously disappeared inside Yaba Innovation Hub, a place where young people came to chase dreams, fight for Wi-Fi, and gossip faster than a Twitter trend. Lara was 26, dark-skinned, elegant, and ambitious. She wasn't just another face renting a desk, she was the quiet star of the hub, the rising fashion entrepreneur whose designs were beginning to get the attention of big names in Lagos. 2 weeks earlier, she'd secured the biggest deal of her life. A luxury boutique brand, Z Luxe, had ordered 150 custom-made pieces from her collection. The advance payment alone was 3.5 million Nigerian Nairas, and when she collected the check that morning, her hands trembled slightly as she stared at the bold figures written neatly across the paper. She slipped it carefully into her top drawer, locked it, and whispered to herself, "God, please, this one no go miss." She smiled, tucked the key into her bag, and went downstairs to grab lunch at the small cafe opposite the hub, unaware that by the time she returned, the check would be gone. The news spread like wildfire before Lara even had time to process it. Someone had stolen her check. Within minutes, the entire co-working space turned into a live Nollywood movie. People who had not spoken to her in months suddenly became interested in her business. Programmers paused their coding. Photographers stopped editing. The soft hum of printers and tapping keyboards was replaced by whispers and side glances. Suspicion fell on Teni almost immediately. At 27, caramel-skinned and effortlessly trendy, Teni called herself a digital strategist, but nobody in the hub really knew what she did for a living. She was loud, playful, and extremely social, the type who could turn a casual lunch into a full-blown TED Talk. But behind the charm, Teni carried something else: envy. She had been watching Lara closely for months, pretending to be supportive while quietly comparing their successes. Every time Lara's fabrics arrived, Teni would innocently stroll over, touching them and making comments like, this Ankara is fine Shah, my followers go love em. And whenever high-paying clients came around Lara's desk, Teni's eyes would follow them like CCTV. So when the check went missing, every glance turned in her direction. Some people whispered softly, others didn't bother hiding it. And Teni noticed. She stood up suddenly, her voice loud enough for half the office to hear. "Let me just warn everybody now," she said, hands on her hips. "If anybody thinks I carry one check, better respect yourself. Oh, my name no be thief." Laughter rippled through the room, but Lara wasn't laughing. Her entire business depended on that money, and without it, she couldn't even buy fabrics for the Z Luxe order. Her head was pounding, her palms clammy, but her voice remained calm when she finally spoke. "Whoever took that check," she said softly but firmly, "better return it quietly. Otherwise, somebody will spend Christmas in Kirikiri." The hub went dead silent. Even the air conditioner seemed to pause. And then there was Mr. Femi. At 39, he was Lara's silent investor, smooth-talking, well-dressed, and always smiling like he had Legos figured out. Femi leaned casually against the glass partition, sipping his Coke like he was watching a season finale. "Relax, Lara," he said, his voice deep and reassuring. "Panicking won't solve anything. Let's approach this logically. Maybe it's just a mix-up." His tone was comforting, almost too comforting, and it unsettled Lara in ways she couldn't explain. By the next morning, the hub's WhatsApp group had transformed into a full-blown investigative committee. Wild theories flew everywhere. Maybe Teni hid the check inside her wig, maybe Mrs. Saad the administrator used it to pay for her son's school fees, or maybe one of the cleaners had vanished into thin air with it. Some people even swore it was spiritual, a case of check vanishing village people. Meanwhile, Teni began overcompensating. She started offering Lara snacks she'd never shared before, greeting her 5 times a day, and loudly announcing every tiny bank alert she received, just to prove her innocence. "A beg, make una see, Zenith Dawn credit me small 5,000 Nigerian Nairas," she'd say, holding her phone in the air like a church testimony. Lara only smiled faintly whenever Teni performed. She knew fake innocence when she saw it. By Thursday, the tension was unbearable. Lara spent the morning staring at her ceiling before work, whispering to herself, "Enough is enough." She wasn't going to argue or accuse anyone. She was going to set a trap. And for that, she needed Chisholm. Chisholm was the hub's 30-year-old IT guy, sarcastic, clever, and always in the middle of everybody's gist whether he was invited or not. When Lara approached him, his eyes lit up immediately. "Finally," he said with a mischievous grin, "Detective Lara Dawn Wake." She explained her plan, and Chisholm helped her set it up that afternoon. A tiny spy cam hidden inside her desk, positioned perfectly above the drawer where she had once kept the real check. In place of the missing check, they planted a fake one, signed, stamped, and designed to look exactly like the original. Whoever takes this one, Chisholm said, adjusting the camera, we go catch their eyelashes in 4K. For the first time in days, Lara laughed. By Friday evening, the trap was ready. Lara pretended to leave early but settled quietly in the cafe downstairs with her phone in hand, watching the live camera feed as she sipped chilled Zobo. At 8:43 p.m., her phone buzzed softly. Motion detected. Her heart pounded as she tapped the notification. The video loaded, grainy but clear enough to recognize faces. Someone had entered her workspace. Someone was opening her drawer. She leaned forward, expecting to see Teni's familiar silhouette. But it wasn't Teni. It wasn't Mrs. Sod. It wasn't any of the people she'd suspected all week. It was Mr. Femi. He was inside her workspace, pulling open her drawer with practiced ease, and when he spotted the fake check, he smiled faintly, the kind of smile that carried secrets. Lara froze, her breath caught in her throat. Her investor. Her trusted partner. The man she thought was on her side. And at that moment, she knew one thing for sure. This was only the beginning. Lara barely slept that night. Every time she closed her eyes, the image replayed in her mind. Mr. Femi's hand sliding into her drawer, his faint smile as he picked up the fake check, and the quiet confidence of a man who didn't think anyone was watching. She lay in bed staring at the ceiling fan turning lazily, her thoughts racing faster than the traffic at Ojulegba. If Femi really took the first check, why would he? And if he was behind it, why pretend to be helping her recover it? She didn't want to believe it, but the camera footage didn't lie. By morning, she looked exhausted, but she walked into the hub like nothing happened. If there was one thing Lagos taught her, it was the art of wearing a calm face when your whole world was upside down. She greeted the security guard with her usual soft smile, climbed the stairs slowly, and walked into the open workspace. The hum of printers, the tapping of keyboards, and the occasional hiss of a generator outside filled the air. But Lara noticed something else too. The energy in the hub had shifted. Conversations stopped briefly when she walked past, then picked up again in low murmurs. Eyes darted towards her and away, and she could almost hear the silent headlines forming in people's minds. Lara's 3.5 million Nigerian Nairas drama continues. Teni was seated at her desk, nails freshly done, scrolling endlessly on her phone. Her laughter echoed loudly as she chatted with two other tenants, pretending to be unbothered. But Lara noticed how Teni's eyes kept sneaking towards her desk, as if trying to read her mood. Lara didn't flinch. She didn't even glance in Teni's direction. Instead, she walked straight to her seat, placed her bag down quietly, and powered on her laptop. She had a plan. By midday, Chisholm strolled over casually, holding a mug of steaming coffee like he had no idea the weight of secrets they were carrying together. He leaned against her desk and whispered softly, "I checked the feed again this morning. It's clean. Nobody else touched your desk after Femi." Lara nodded slightly but didn't reply. She didn't want anyone overhearing. Chisholm lowered his voice further. "So, what's the plan?" "Patience," she whispered back, her eyes fixed on her screen. "If we confront him too early, he'll deny everything. We need proof. Real proof." Chisholm nodded, impressed. Detective Lara is back in action. He chuckled softly, but the humor didn't reach his eyes. Over the next few days, Lara watched Femi carefully. It wasn't easy because he carried himself like someone you couldn't suspect, always helpful, always cheerful, the man everybody liked. He came around her desk more often now, asking random questions about her progress with the Z Lux order, offering business advice she didn't ask for, even buying lunch for her once. It was all too neat. Too perfect. Meanwhile, Teni's behavior became stranger. She went from loud and defensive to overly quiet, almost too quiet. One evening, Lara returned from a client meeting to find Teni crouched by her desk, looking for her charger. She claimed she dropped it, but Lara noticed her eyes dart quickly to the drawer before she stood up. The whole thing stank. Friday came again, and the tension in the hub was so thick you could slice it with a butter knife. By lunchtime, Mrs. Sod had gathered her usual gossip committee in the kitchen, brewing theories like hot Lipton tea. "I told you people," Mrs. Sod said, adjusting her scarf dramatically, "this check matter no be ordinary. Money like that cannot just vanish without sacrifice somewhere. Somebody inside this hub knows the person, mark my words." "A beg, no drag me inside spiritual wahala," one of the designers muttered. "Not Teni everybody day suspect since day one. See as she day shine wig every Friday, you go think say she day collect Dubai allowance." Teni, who had walked in just in time to hear it, stopped in her tracks. "Excuse me," she said sharply, hands on hips. "You people won't respect yourselves? All of Una just day gossip me up and down like small children. Mrs. Sod smirked, sipping her tea slowly before replying. My dear, we are not gossiping. We are analyzing. The laughter that followed shook the tiny kitchen walls. Teni hissed and stormed out, muttering under her breath, God go judge Una. Lara, sitting quietly nearby, didn't say a word. She watched, observed, and waited. Later that evening, Chisholm came to her desk again, holding a small flash drive. He slipped it under her notebook like they were passing contraband. This is what you asked for, he whispered. Lara frowned slightly, confused. I pulled Femi's last 3 months' financial transactions, he explained softly, his voice low enough that only she could hear. Don't ask me how. Just look through it tonight. Her heart thudded in her chest, but she managed a calm nod. That night, at home, she sat cross-legged on her bed with her laptop, scrolling through the files on the drive. Chisholm had dug deep. Transfers, deposits, withdrawals. And there it was, sitting like a red flag she couldn't ignore. Multiple small transfers from her business account into an unregistered fintech wallet, connected to Femi's email address. She covered her mouth to stop herself from screaming. It wasn't just about the missing check anymore. Femi had been draining her business quietly, small amounts at a time, hiding it where she wouldn't notice until it was too late. The betrayal burned deep. The next morning, she walked into the hub with a different kind of calmness. Her steps were steady, her voice soft, her face unreadable. She greeted people normally, sat at her desk, and went about her work like nothing had happened. But inside her chest, a storm was brewing. She and Chisholm had decided on the next phase of their plan, bait Femi again, but this time, expose him publicly. Chisholm would set up a live feed from her desk camera connected to the central projector in the hub's conference room. The moment Femi touched the fake check again, the entire hub would watch him in real time. It was risky. It was bold. It was dangerous. But Lara was done playing nice. And by Monday morning, the trap would be ready. Monday came too slowly. Lara had barely slept over the weekend. Every passing hour felt heavy with the knowledge of what she and Chisholm were about to do. She'd spent 2 days preparing, checking every detail, rehearsing every possible outcome in her mind. By 9 a.m., the trap was set. The projector in the hub's conference room was connected to a hidden live feed from Lara's spy cam. The bait was ready, a freshly printed fake check, looking even more convincing than the first one. She deliberately left her drawer slightly ajar this time, an open invitation no greedy hand could resist. By mid-morning, the hub buzzed with its usual chaos. Keyboards clacked. Phones rang. Someone in the back corner was blasting an Afrobeats playlist too loud for anyone's liking. And yet, beneath all that noise, there was an unspoken tension hanging in the air. Lara tried to focus on her sketches, but her heart thudded in her chest every time someone walked past her desk. Chisholm leaned on the nearby partition, pretending to drink his third coffee of the morning while secretly watching the live feed on his phone. Relax, he whispered when she glanced at him. Lagos traffic no day reach like this. If this guy touched that drawer today, we go catch him in 4K. Lara inhaled deeply and nodded, trying to steady herself. This wasn't just about the missing check anymore. This was about her business, her name, her survival. Then, around 1:17 p.m., it happened. Mr. Femi walked in. Perfectly pressed white shirt, gold cufflinks, that familiar soft smile on his face. He greeted a few people warmly, stopped to compliment someone's sneakers, and strolled casually towards Lara's section like he had nothing to hide. Lara kept her head down, pretending to be busy with her laptop, but her pulse raced as he slowed near her desk. Lara, he said smoothly, have you had lunch? I was thinking of ordering from that new bistro on Herbert Macaulay. She forced a polite smile. Not yet. He nodded, glanced briefly at her drawer, and then, as if by accident, rested one hand on the edge. You should try their seafood pasta, he added softly. Best I've had in Lagos. Lara managed a faint chuckle. I'll keep that in mind. And then he walked away. For a moment, Lara thought he wasn't going to take the bait. But 20 minutes later, when most people went to lunch, he came back. This time, quieter, more deliberate. Through the tiny lens of the spy cam, Lara and Chisholm watched him crouch slightly, glance around, and slip his hand inside the drawer. His fingers touched the fake check, and just as he pulled it out, Chisholm tapped a single key on his laptop. The conference room projector lit up instantly. Everyone inside, developers, photographers, designers, random freelancers eating shawarma, froze when the footage filled the wall-sized screen. Gasps erupted. Aha! Someone shouted. Na Femi. In the clip, his face was crystal clear. His gold cufflinks glimmered under the office lights. There was no mistaking it. Mr. Femi was caught red-handed. Outside the conference room, people's phones buzzed as word spread through the hub in seconds. Doors opened, chairs scraped, and within minutes, nearly everyone had gathered around Lara's desk. Femi stood there holding the fake check, blinking rapidly as the crowd closed in. I was just checking to make sure it was safe, he stammered finally, attempting a weak smile. A ripple of laughter swept through the room. Safe inside your pocket? Chisholm said loudly, his sarcasm sharp enough to draw another round of chuckles. Teni, standing a few feet away, folded her arms smugly. I knew it, she announced, loud enough for everyone to hear. I've been telling people since that first day that my own hands are clean. Lara turned slowly to face her. Really, Teni? Her voice was calm but cold, slicing through the noise. Then explain why I saw you by my drawer last Thursday evening. Teni froze. Her mouth opened but no words came out. A few heads turned in her direction, and suddenly the spotlight shifted. NN, Mrs. Saad chimed in from behind the crowd, adjusting her gelly dramatically. 2 suspects. Go sweet today. Laughter rippled again, but Lara wasn't smiling. She pulled out her phone, tapped the gallery, and projected a second clip onto the big screen. Footage from Thursday evening, showing Teni crouched beside her drawer, pretending to search for her charger. Gasps. Again. Ha! Chisholm whistled. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Money Heist, Yaba Edition. The room erupted in laughter so loud that the receptionist downstairs probably heard it. Teni's face flushed deep red. I wasn't stealing anything, she shouted over the noise. I was just... But before she could finish, Femi raised a hand quietly. Enough, he said, his smooth investor's voice finally cracking. The room fell silent. He turned to Lara, his jaw tight. Yes, I took the first check. And yes, Teni knew. She was helping me. Gasps turned into murmurs. She was supposed to distract you while I handled business. Teni's voice rose instantly, trembling with anger. So now you want to drag me down with you? God forbid. But the damage was done. The hub had already chosen its villains. Within an hour, the management team called an emergency meeting. Femi's silent investment privileges were revoked on the spot. Teni was handed an eviction notice from the hub for breaching security trust. Neither of them protested much. Their reputations were already buried beneath the laughter and whispers spreading faster than wildfire. By Wednesday, Z-Lux called Lara directly, not only to confirm their trust but to double their order. We like people who handle drama quietly, their CEO said warmly over the phone. Lara smiled faintly. Thank you. You won't regret this. She hung up and leaned back in her chair, finally exhaling deeply for the first time in weeks. But the story didn't end there. 3 days later, while the hub was returning to its normal rhythm, Chisholm walked past Lara's desk with his usual smirk and dropped a small envelope on her table. What's this? She asked. Compliments of Teni, he said, chuckling. Inside was a handwritten note, in Teni's unmistakable dramatic handwriting. Dear Lara, I hope your precious checks are safe now. Just remember, Lagos is small, and I move faster than Wi-Fi. Lara stared at the note for a moment, then burst into laughter so loud that even Mrs. Saad peeped from her office door. Nah, so movie part 2 day start, Chisholm muttered under his breath, shaking his head. I go buy popcorn. But the final blow came later that evening when Lara walked outside the hub to grab a bottle of cold Fanta from the street vendor. A small crowd had gathered under the palm tree near the parking lot, and as she approached, she heard someone shouting. Ladies and gentlemen, don't happen again, oh. She squeezed through the group and found Mrs. Saad standing triumphantly, waving something in the air. It was one of Femi's gold cufflinks. He came back last night, she whispered dramatically, leaning close so everyone could hear, to apologize. But guess what? The security cameras caught him trying to borrow laptops this time. The crowd exploded into laughter, and someone at the back shouted, Ah! This man day major in stealing electives. Lara couldn't help it. She laughed until tears rolled down her cheeks, her body shaking from relief and amusement. For the first time in weeks, she felt light again. And just when the laughter died down, Chisholm leaned close, his voice dropping to a whisper only she could hear. You know this means war, right? Lara raised an eyebrow, smiling faintly. Then let them come. She slipped her sunglasses on, turned dramatically, and walked back inside the hub without another word. The crowd watched her go, murmuring softly. Someone whispered, if this is how season 1 ends, season 2 go choke.